Hello, and welcome to Rematched, where today I'm going to be reviewing the Alpha. Now, this is by Bicycle Games. They are known for making playing cards. That's probably where you recognize the name from. It is ages 10 and plus. It is 3 to 6 players, and it is 45 minutes. And I would say, as far as time goes, 45 minutes is pretty accurate. Obviously, I think the more people you add, the game's obviously going to take longer. And it says it is a light strategy game, and this is the first discrepancy here. Just holding it, moving it around, I would not qualify it as light. It's not a heavy strategy game by any means, but it's got a little bit of weight to it, you know. Maybe like I would say medium or medium light, but to say it was light, like if you passed this to me and I was holding it, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's really light, you know. So I'm gonna have to disagree with that. But if you are unfamiliar with my reviews, they will be divided into 3 parts. The first part is the box and components. That's this part right here. The second part is going to be an overview of the gameplay, telling you how it basically works. And the third part is going to be where I just tell you my thoughts of the board game. So getting right into it, opening up the box, we are going to have an instructions manual, obviously. We're going to have a board, and we're going to have all these spots here with the wolves. They fell into each other when I was moving it. They normally are not like this, I promise. But I'll show you the board in just a second. Before that, you're going to have these den cards. Each of the players is going to have these. This is where you're going to store your wolves during the game. And then it also has a helpful little results table so that if you forget what happens during a conflict, you can look right here. Under that, we are going to find all of these animal tiles that we will get to later. Here's more animal tiles. And then also, we are going to have the mini dice. This game comes with many different colors, as well as all of these fight tokens, the alpha token, and there should be one other small token somewhere here. So as far as components go, there are some standouts here. All the different colored dice, and they're all unique printed. These are going to be representing different animals that you're going to try to be hunting during the game. You're also going to be getting all these wolf meeples for the varieties of different players. You're all going to have a different color, and these are very nice. I'm going to be honest, if this game you were placing cubes instead of wolves, I would not have bought it. And this is something thematically that just adds to the game. You know, it helps. It helps. Custom meeples always help. I will bring up, though, my second issue with this game, and this one red wolf, he has a flat head. All right, moving on to the board. Now, this board is going to be extremely hard for me to capture on camera here, and so I'm going to try my best. So, over here is where you're going to start. All the players are going to be placing their wolves here. This is just going to be the food tracker. It's going to be determining how much food you have, and the player who at the end of the game goes all the way up here. Actually, it doesn't matter where you are, but if you have the most food out of any other wolf, by the end of 5 weeks, you are going to win the game. There are also indications on the board for the deep forest, as well as the near forest, and I'll explain that in the gameplay overview. And then also injured and healing, likewise explained in the gameplay overview. And speaking of gameplay overviews, you are now in the gameplay overview segment. So, here is half the board, and you are going to start it by putting the week's left token right up there. This is going to be your round tracker. Every time you have a full round, you're going to move that down. Then each player is going to have a den in front of them with all their wolves on it, aside from one wolf who's going to go here to represent their food tracker. The player with the alpha token goes first, and that can really start with whoever you want it to be. But during the game, the player who's farthest up the food track, they're going to get to go first, and because they're the alpha. Again, just to make sure you know, this is a 3 to 6 player game. I'm just only showing 2 wolves here, just to keep it simple. So, during my turn, let's say I'm starting off, I'm going to take a wolf from my den, and then I'm going to place where I want to hunt. Now here, under the near forest, you are going to have tiles placed on the table. And I'm going to go over a couple of these with you. First one is scavenge. This you can only put one wolf on. You can't just load all your wolves on there. But this is a guaranteed 1 food, no conflict. And I'll explain conflict in a second. But this is just an easy 1 food if you're running low on food. The other types of things you're going to find in the near forest are these small animals. Now, you're going to be putting yours on that saying, okay, I want to hunt for the fish. Then is going to be the next person's turn. And let's say they put it there. Now they're competing for the fish. And so you can have a variety of people placing it on their turn all on here. And each of your wolves is going to count for 1. So right now you're tied. If you add another wolf, now you are the dominant pack in that region. Also note that each team will have one of these alpha pairs. These are 2 wolves that are somehow glued together, and so they are going to count as 2 wolves, and you only have 1 of those. And so let's go with this and say everyone ran out of wolves, round's done. And for some reason I really wanted this fish. But now I'm the dominant pack, so I'm going to roll for this fish. Each of these animals is going to have a custom die. You can tell by the colors. And so when you're looking at this, when you're placing it, you're going to see, okay, so I have about a third a chance to get a 3, and then I have a 1 in 6 chance of a 2, and then a 2 in 6 chance of getting nada. And so then I, as the dominant pack, am going to roll this, and in this case, I get 2 food, and so I get to go up 2. Now, if this was 3, I go up 3. If this was an X, that means I missed the fish, didn't catch it. I get no food. Now, all of these smaller animals are going to be here in the near forest. They won't give as much food. Less risk, less reward. And risk, you may think, what risk would there be? Well, at the top up here, you can't see it right now, but there's another one, as I showed you earlier, that says deep forest. And so these animals in the deep forest are going to be the medium and large animals. For instance, this caribou is large. It's going to be over here in the deep forest. So you can see much higher values, but whenever you place one of your wolves in the deep forest, you're going to have to pay 1 food. So if you get down to 0, you can't place any in the deep forest. Now what if with this caribou or the fish or really any other animal, you are not the dominant pack? Before I showed you an example where you were the dominant pack. In this example, you are not. There is a tie. So what do you do in this case? Well, you are going to have to compete to see who gets it. First, roll the die. This is not the right one, but let's say it is. And that's the food we're competing for. And then the 2 players that are going for it are going to each have these conflict tokens. And so you are going to privately, without talking to the other player, you're going to decide whether you're going to fight or you're going to share. And now that is where the results table comes in on your handy dandy player board. So if, for example, you both share it, that resolves as you'd expect. Let's say it was 8, you're going to split it, and you're both going to get 4 food. Okay. But if one of you decides to fight and the other shares, then the person who fights gets it all 8. Now, what if you both fight, I hear you ask? Well, in that case, neither one of you is going to get the food, and both one and one of your wolves are going to be placed in the injured zone. When a wolf is placed in the injured zone, at the end of the round, you're going to move all wolves from that zone to the healing zone, but you don't get them back quite yet. And then at the end of the next round, all wolves in the healing zone get to come back to you. Now, there still are some other interactions that we need to talk about. So let's say here you are with your alpha pair, and here's the pesky orange player who decided to go there with you. Now you're a tie, but look who showed up. Dark green, yeah. So let's say you and the orange, you both fight. In that case, even though you're the dominant one, since you both fought, that means this little green guy here, he runs away with all the food. Yeah, he didn't even help. Now, I'm also sure that you're dying to know about these. Why are there C's? C's aren't numbers. And yes, you are right. C's are not numbers. Good job. So, you're going to see right here, 5. So if you roll that, that becomes carry on. That means it's no longer 8, it is 5 food. And all packs are competing for it. And so that's not going to affect you if it's like this. But of course, if this little green loser is back there again, now all of a sudden they're competing for it too, even though they only put 1 wolf. Ridiculous. I hate green. I'm joking. I don't hate green. Green's my favorite. Anyways, if you happen to get this carry-on, after you resolve whatever happens, whoever gets the food, the next round, it's going to be flipped, and it's going to be carry-on. Now this is going to function like this, where you get a guaranteed 1 food, except in this case, it's 5. And this is going to be the dominant pack collecting, and so there'll be no risk, no dice rolling required. And then after that, it is just going to flip back to normal. There's one more type of animal in the deep forest, and that is these big animals. And I would like to also say, there's a variety of animals that you're going to get in this game. I'm just not going to show you all of them here. In this case, our big animal is the bison. And this is gonna function just like the medium and small animals. Except I just want to highlight the fact that you have to have greater than 4 wolves. So you can't get this kill unless you have 4 wolves, and those can be from any old color. The last section that you can place your wolves on is this one, the livestock. This is a maximum of 1 wolf. So once someone goes there, no one else can go there that round. But for good reason. Right here is this little sheep. And unfortunately, he's protected by a farmer with a rifle. So you're going to be rolling this red die, and you may just die. That was terrible. And so this livestock token is really going to come into play if you're really behind. It's a way where you can risk it all to catch up. And when a wolf does die, they are permanently out of the game, so be careful. Of course, because it's only max 1 wolf in the region, if you know pesky green is up here winning, they can always throw one there to make sure no one else can go there. Now that you hopefully understand how to play the game, I'm going to talk about what my thoughts on it are. To start off, I've only played this with 3 or 4 players, and so I cannot speak on 5 and 6 players, although I will say, play with as many players as possible. The more you throw in there, the better the game is going to get. Just the difference between 3 and 4 players, you are gonna, with more players, be adding on more and more animals. But just the difference, even with that, between 3 and 4 players, it was much more fun with 4 players. It really was, because you're just going to get that much more conflict on all these little animals. I think this also does technically qualify as a worker placement game, as you're placing your quote-unquote workers, although it's obviously very different, and it's you're fighting for control of these different resources and moving up. And it is a simple game, but it is very fun. It's got a lot of components that make it work. But to be a little bit more specific, you're going to have these interesting scenarios where you're low on food and you're like, do I go for that? And sometimes when I've played, I'll like intentionally, instead of putting an alpha, I'll put like 2 wolves there, because just mentally makes people think like, oh man, he's already got that controlled. And so then they don't go there. And then other times, there'll be some player over here just all by themselves getting something, while you and this other player are just fighting it out crazily over here while this player steals the win. And again, though, with the livestock token, there is some interesting ways where you can try to catch up. So overall, I do really like this game. First game, I was a little unsure. Second game, though, I was like, okay, this is a good game. So my recommendations, play with as many people as you can. And again, overall, I recommend it. I think this is pretty fun. Obviously, thematically, it's really nice. I love good themes. This is really good. Unless you like love bison, then maybe it's a bit sad. A lot of nice components, a lot of nice colors. Overall is a fun game where you're going to get a lot of interesting competition, and a lot of it, hinging on these fun interactions between players. Some of these quote-unquote worker placement games, there's not as much interaction except for kind of blocking players off. This obviously is not like that, and it is very good. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope it was informative, hope it helped you. And if you did enjoy this video, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, all the gist. And of course, make sure that you have a fantastic day.